A very good morning to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on Wednesday morning. I hope you're all having a good week. We're still buzzing, aren't we, from the result against Arsenal last Saturday? And long may it rain. And we have an opportunity on Thursday night to maintain that kind of feeling and bring in another good performance, fingers crossed. But we've got Leicester City that we're going to play against. And although many fans think, oh, well, it's only Leicester, relegation fodder, etc., these are the sort of games that we could easily slip up in. Now, on on Monday, Leicester sacked two of Ruud van Nistelrooy's coaching staff in an effort to steer the club back to winning ways. First team coach Ben Dawson and goalkeeping coach Danny Alcock both left the club with immediate effect on Monday. Now, both of those coaches were brought in originally by Steve Cooper. They were part of his backroom team when he joined in the club last summer. Now, during his time at Leicester, Van Nistelrooy has slowly been building up his own coaching staff. And the latest to be added to that the backroom staff, is Andy King. He's now the first team coach. Now, Leicester fans will be really happy about this because many have been calling for King to be promoted through the club to be part of the senior backroom setup. The former Leicester City title winner has been doing a great job with the under-18s, and he will certainly try to help Van Nistelrooy change the team in the way that they've been playing. So West Ham are going to have to prepare ourselves for perhaps a few tactical switches and perhaps a few surprises in the team lineup when we host Leicester on Thursday night. King obviously will be keen to bring in his own fresh ideas. Now, till now, with various minor changes because of knocks, etc., more to the defence than anywhere else, Van Nistelrooy has been fielding much the same team throughout his tenure. And despite some decent performances, Leicester have only won just two of their last dozen games in the Premier League. The 2-1 win over Spurs a few weeks ago, and of course, the 3-1 win over West Ham in Van Nistelrooy's first game in charge back in December. It was a very cold night back then in December, I remember. The night where, despite we had 29 shots, of which 7 were on target, we got sucker punched by a Jamie Vardy goal within the first minute of the game. And of course, we ended up losing the game 3-1. Leicester's only other win of late has been in the FA Cup against QPR in January, where they beat Championship side QPR 6-2. Other than that, it's 4 wins in 26 league games all season with just 17 points. And to be really honest, it does look like they may be heading straight back down into the Championship. But this is where a team like Leicester can be really dangerous. They're fighting for their lives in the Premier League. And to be honest, they're playing a team whose home record isn't that good this season. So it's not going to be a walk in the park for West Ham by any stretch of the imagination. We have won just 4 Premier League games at home this season and 5 games in total if you include the cup win over Bournemouth at the beginning of the season. The teams we've beaten at home have included Ipswich, Man United, Wolves and Fulham. And many say that we were lucky to get a win over Fulham, and the other 3 games have been against very poor teams this season. So in order for Leicester to try and survive relegation, they're likely to have picked out specific games for the ones that they've got remaining to sort of target, which ones do they think that they can get something from. And it won't surprise me if West Ham United are one of those teams on that list. We've got to be careful this Thursday. We've got to be careful not to take this game too lightly. We've got to be careful not to give Leicester any momentum, especially not to be hit with an early goal in the manner that we had against them at their ground in December. And we've got to be careful that we do enough so that the fan base at home Don't turn on the players. Look, despite their poor league record, Leicester can still hurt us, but they have been misfiring for most of the season. And in their last 6 league games, they failed to score in 5 of them. The only league game that they've scored in was the 2-1 win over Spurs. But as mentioned, with Andy King bringing in fresh ideas, they will have studied our weaknesses and will try to exploit them against us this Thursday night. It's not that I'm nervous about the game, but with the atmosphere being so poor at the London Stadium for the best part of a calendar year, Leicester will want to keep home fans quiet to add to that touch of nervousness. Of course, their danger man, as ever, is Jamie Vardy, who is their top goal scorer this season with 8 goals and 3 assists. And he continues to defy his age, 38 years of age. He's still got great pace. He can still create problems. He's still an absolute terror against most defenses. They have other players, though, who can hurt us. Jordan Ayew on 5 goals and 1 assist. Steffi Mavidi on a winger with 5 goals and 1 assist as well. And another player that is quite skillful in midfield, attacking midfielder, is Facundo Bonanotte, who's on loan for Brighton, and he also has 5 goals and 3 assists. So they've got danger across the team. And it's kind of a surprise, really, that they haven't scored more goals than they already have this season. But it is their defence that's really poor. And they've conceded 59 goals in the Premier League this season, with only Southampton having a worse record. They did bring in, get his name right, Wayo Koulibaly, a right back from Italian club Parma in January. But he, to be honest, has made next to no difference in their defence that has been leaking goals all season. So we can get at their defence. But whilst we're almost definitely going to go at their defence, we cannot be too naive in allowing ourselves to be exposed in the back. And they will 100% go for it on Thursday in attack whilst trying to stifle our attack. They'll play 3 at the back. They'll crowd out the midfield, and they'll rely on the pace of players like their wingers and Vardy to go at our defence. Look, they did quite well, ironically, against Arsenal a few weeks ago, where it was only until the 81st minute that Arsenal got their first goal. However, it was not quite the same against Brentford last Friday night, who made it look quite easy by beating them 4-0. All I can say is expect the unexpected, purely because of their backroom coaching changes over the past week. They're going to stifle us. They're going to try and frustrate us in our attack. They're going to sit behind the ball. They're going to absorb the pressure. And where they can, they'll hit us on the break with their fast-paced players to try and nick a goal. But what about West Ham? Well, we've got to be buoyed by the win against Arsenal last weekend. We have to be. It was a fantastic, solid counter-attacking performance, and the confidence is high. You know, we come away from that. Everyone gave us no hope against Arsenal, but it was a disciplined performance. It was a proper team performance. Not one player put a foot wrong in that game. But given that the confidence is high and there's a good buzz around the team, we're not going to set ourselves up counter-attacking again. It was only Graham Potter's second win since he's taken over the head coaching role. But we've got to keep up the momentum, but we've got to find a different way of playing and not make Saturday a distant memory. Like I said, Leicester are going to stifle us, so clearly they're going to expect us to go at them. So we're not going to play a counter-attacking style. But with only 4 league home wins this season, we need to temper the performance that we're going to put out. We need to go for it, but not expose ourselves to the dangers that Leicester offer. Now, I've been pondering what sort of lineup we'll go for on Thursday. And after messing around with a few ideas and formations to fit in more attacking players, I've kind of come to the conclusion that we may well start with the same starting lineup that we had against Arsenal, but playing a completely different formation and with different tactics. Clearly, as I've said, we're not going for a counter-attacking style. I can see Areola remaining in go. I can see Areola remaining in goal. I can see a back three of Todibo, Kilman, and Creswell. And then we'll go for a midfield four, wide players, Wan-Bissaka out wide, Scarles keeping his place out on the left side, and Ward-Prowse and Alvarez being the pivots in the middle. And then within our attacking options, we could have Souček and Kudus play just behind Jared Bowen up front. Now, the only change that I was considering, the only changes that I thought might happen is whether Evan Ferguson would start or Carlos Soler would start. But then in order to accommodate them, we would have to maybe change the formation or drop one of the players, drop Souček for Ferguson or drop Souček for Soler. I don't know. That's why I'm thinking that maybe we'll have the same starting lineup as we did on Saturday. Now, Potter, of course, could go with a back four, but we have seen how poor we can be playing in a back four, especially the first half against Brentford the weekend before last. However, we were a lot better in the second half of that game without changing the formation. And with the return of Todibo, I guess there's every chance that Potter might decide to go with a back four because he might feel that a back four with Todibo in it would be a lot stronger. Now, the player, if we did go with a back four that would drop out, would be Aaron Creswell. But then there would be a question mark whether Potter will decide to keep Ollie Scarles in the team. I've talked about how Creswell has helped Scarles in the game against Arsenal last weekend, constantly talking to him, telling him where to go, positioning him, etc. Now, if Creswell dropped out, will Kilman do the same job if Scarles started as left back? Or if we go with a back four, would it mean that the more experienced Emerson coming back into the team? Now, if we stay with a back three, then I can see the four in the middle that I've mentioned being a more reasonable option. Stay with the back three and get Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse in the middle, and have your your wing back kind of roles with Wan-Bissaka and Scarles out wide. So let me try and put it in context and see what can happen. If we go with the back four, do we leave Ollie Scarles in there? I'm doubtful. I'm not sure. Like I said, Areola in goal, Wan-Bissaka on the right, Todibo and Kilman in the centre. And I think possibly Emerson would go into a back four rather than Scarles. And then the two in the middle, James Ward-Prowse, Alvarez, and then you'll have Souček further forward. And then you could have Bowen and Kudus either side of Ferguson up front. Now, Kudus doesn't do so well when he goes out on the left-hand side. He had a much freer role on Saturday, but then he was interchanging with Bowen throughout the whole game, the two up front. But when you try and keep Kudus out on the left-hand side throughout a whole game, it doesn't work so well. So you could bring Soler in, have Ferguson starting on the bench, and then put Bowen up front as well instead. And then if you stay with a back three, and it kind of makes me think that I think Potter will stay with a back three. All of a sudden, you've got a different feel to the team with Todibo on the right side of Kilman and Creswell on the left side. Then, as I've mentioned, you could afford Scarles starting on the left side of a midfield four, Wan-Bissaka on the right, again, James Ward-Prowse and Alvarez in the middle. And then what you could have is Kudus on the right side and Souček just to the left of Bowen up front. And I think quite possibly this is the lineup that Potter will go for. It's exactly the same team as that we had on Saturday against Arsenal, but in a completely different formation and completely different tactics. Look, it's going to be... I think Potter won't go gung ho against Leicester. I think he'll be a little bit more pragmatic, and I think that's why I'm looking at the sort of the lineup and the players starting, and suggesting that using the same players in a different tactics, and different formation will work. It keeps it tight in the middle with James Ward-Prowse and Alvarez there. A back three keeps it tight as well, and then you can allow your wing backs, your Wan-Bissaka and Skulls, to get forward a lot more because you've got that security. You've got the back three, and then you've got the security of the two pivotal roles in the middle of the park. So I think he's going to want to go for it, but I think he's going to be pragmatic in his approach. Let's see what happens. Now, I predicted that it will be a 3-1 scoreline. I'm going to stick to that. I would love to think that we can keep a clean sheet. I've got a feeling that Jamie Vardy is going to score. With that, I think we'll get, and I think Kudus will come into play on Thursday night. I think he'll get a goal to continue boosting his confidence. I think Bone will score as well. And let's go for a midfield free kick, which hasn't happened yet, with James Ward-Prowse getting that. I'll be back on Thursday after the game, of course. We'll do a post-match review straight after the game. So do join me for that. Of course, if there's any action, any goal action, I'll try and bring that to you as soon as I can during the game as well. Thank you for joining and thank you for listening. By the way, if you're new to the channel and you have yet to become a subscriber, please do subscribe. And if you haven't yet, if you've watched me before but yet to subscribe, what are you waiting for? And also, please do hit the like button if you've enjoyed the content. Thank you all for watching and listening, and I will see you, well, after the game on Thursday night.